This episode of Brown Girl Guilt is sponsored by Preeti, the esthetician from the Skin Doctor. Think about it. Your skin is your body's largest organ. Taking care of it requires effort and care. And I always say, skincare is self-care, and it's a radical act of self-love. Preeti at the Skin Doctor will help you first set up your skincare practices and then help you achieve your skincare goals. She can literally help your skin shine. And with board-certified dermatologists and the latest scientific technology, you literally can't go wrong with picking this place and these experts. So visit theskincaredoctor.com or check them out on Instagram at the.skindoctor and make sure that you tell them your girl Harpo sent you. Hi friends, it's your girl Harpo, and welcome to episode 4 of Brown Girl Guilt. What a journey we've been on. It's been such a fantastic month. I'm so happy that all of you stuck around and you made it to episode 4. That was wild day. I really brought in the big guns. I really wanted this entire month to be full of women who have been instrumental in my healing journey. And there's tons more that we're all going to get to meet. I'm so excited for this what we're going to talk about today, because I was actually inspired by this episode by a tweet that I saw. I guess one tweet that I saw, and then I saw whatever the tweet was happening again and again and again. And I was like, you know what? I believe far too much in the power of the universe and the idea of synchronicities that I need to take this as a telltale sign that I need to talk about this. So in the month of January, we all know that it's the new year and we love to set intentions. We love to set goals. We like to get into like manifestation mode. And what happens is we start to, sometimes we write things down, but we start to vocalize like a lot of what we are manifesting for the year. And I saw a tweet by one of my friends, and basically, I mean, I don't really remember what the specifics of the tweet were, but the tweet was something along the lines of, I don't want no mans this year. I don't want to talk to no mans. Like, this is just a year about me and my girlfriends, like getaway trash humans, blah, 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 blah. And I read that tweet and I was like so uncomfortable, because I know this friend wants to be in a relationship. I know this friend wants to attract a man's in her life, despite the fact that she's tweeting that she doesn't want a man's in her life. And I saw that and I read, honey, you're confusing the universe, because deep down in your heart, you really want a man's, but you're out here on the Twitter feed telling the entire world that you don't want a man's. And I think we do that so often. I know I'm very much guilty of it. I will deep down want something so badly. I mean, for my entire life, I have wanted to be in a romantic relationship. I've wanted a husband. I've wanted true love, romantic love, all that fairy tale Bollywood shit. I've always wanted it. But I was like, no, I'm a cool girl. I don't want any of that. I want to be like forever alone. And even that forever alone piece, like we always say, I'm going to be single forever. I want to be forever alone. But truly, we have to ask ourselves, if it's something that I truly want, and I keep saying that that's what I don't want, am I really allowed to be surprised when none of that shows up for me? So during my tarot deck spreads, a question that I ask the universe often is, how can I create space for all that I want to attract into my life? This is one of my favorite questions. And in this contemplation, I ask, how can I open myself up more to all that I want so badly? And so the key to receiving what you want is just that, receiving. In order for you to attract all that you want, you have to first signal to the universe that you are actually ready to receive, first of all, and second, that you are willing to receive. So if you deep down want a man's, first you have to accept, okay, I want a man's. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. Or I want a relationship if you're a man's listening to this. If you don't want a man's and you want a woman's, that's okay too. But first you have to accept that that's something you truly want. And then second, you have to be courageous enough to tell the universe, this is what I want. You have to tell the universe, I am open to receiving. And most importantly, you have to tell the universe, I receive that. So I Received That is the title of one of my favorite meditations on the Insight Timer app by my dear friend Dora Kamau. The description of the meditation says, this is a practice that holds space for us to affirm ourselves and be intentional with what we are choosing to fill our beings with. It's a beautiful exchange of giving and receiving from yourself and also from others. Opening myself up to the universe to receive is a lesson I actually learned from my friend Dora, among many other lessons. Dora, who is a mindfulness artist and meditation guide, chatted with me on the beauty of and importance of receiving. And she also talked to me about how to get really clear about the seeds you are planting, because often I find I need to find clarity around the seeds or the intentions that I'm planting. She also talked to me about how we can all start to work towards a place where we feel deserving of all that we want to receive. I can't wait for y'all to jump in. Like I always say, bring a notepad, bring a pen, or just bring yourself. Be fully open and in fully receival mode in receiving this episode.
Hey,
Hi, Dora. How are you? Happy Monday.
happy Monday. I'm good. I'm just here tuning in, starting my day. How are you?
Oh, I'm so happy that you're doing this.
What? Thank you for having me. This is so great. I'm excited.
So, for some of us, we might not actually fully understand the power of switching to receival mode.
Mm,
Can you maybe speak to the kind of spiritual law of giving and receiving? And the reason that I want to have this conversation with you is because one of your meditations on Insight Timer, one of my favorite ones is I receive that. I love that meditation.
mm,
I do it often whenever I'm not feeling worthy or deserving enough of anything that I want. I play that and it helps me recharge and really resets me. So,
yeah.
for those of us who are, I'll repeat the question. For those of us who might not actually understand the power of switching to receive a mode, can you speak to that kind of spiritual law of giving and receiving?
Yeah, I mean, the universe works in a flow, right? And so giving and receiving is like that energetic exchange. And it's always going, whether we're aware of it or not. Like it's always working in motion. And just like how you said, like we are the ones that are in our way. When we're in this flow, it's like we are working in unison with the universe. So we're giving and we're receiving. And so it comes from more of like an abundance mindset where just as much as we're putting out there, we're also receiving within ourselves. And so when we don't, and when that's in balance, it's like things start to get stuck. There's that residue that's there. And so maybe we're over giving, or we're not in a state of receival because maybe we're afraid or we feel like we're not worthy. And so that's, for me, that's the law. It's like it's always there, it's always happening, but it's like, are we tuned in into that? Are we aware of what's going on? Are we blocking ourselves? Are there things that are standing in our way? um, and working backwards from that. So if I'm not in a giving mode, well, why not? Is that coming from fear? Am I thinking that I'm not going to get it back? Am I afraid to let go? And when I'm not in a state of receiving, well, why not? Again, am I not feeling like I'm worthy? Am I not feeling like I'm deserving? And being able to question those kind of things, questioning the blockages, questioning our fears, questioning our doubts, allows that flow to come back, allows that balance to come back.
hmm You kind of mentioned it a little bit, but why is it so important for us to be open when we are wishing for what we want, and what happens when we aren't open? What you said, you used the words residue and blockage.
Yeah.
Um, but why is it so important for us to be open in wanting what we want, and then also being open in giving what we're trying to give?
I feel like the biggest thing is like we can't manipulate our manifestations. And I feel like right now
Mm-hmm.
in spirituality, manifesting, gratitude, like all these things are trending now. And, I recently got on TikTok, and you see people like working with this idea of manifestation, but they're manipulating the manifestations because people just talk about writing down things 369, and then things are gonna appear. But it's like, you also have to be open yourself. A lot of the times we stand in the way of our manifestations because we're wanting something to look exactly how we're asking for it. You know what I mean? And in my own journey, when I was able just to let go and be open to any and everything, that's when things started to happen because I wasn't so attached to the outcome. And so when we're able to like release our control and just be open to whatever, that's when things start to pour in. But as long as we're like, I am wanting this and this and this and this and this and this exactly this way, I think of it almost like as tunnel vision, where we could get what we were wanting, but because it's not showing up in the form that we asked it for, it's like, well, that's not it. So being able to open ourselves up, being able to look beyond just the physical, the physicality, or like the materialistic side of things, and knowing that if we ask, say, for a partner, maybe we're manifesting love into our lives, it's like, well, first of all, life is going to put you in different scenarios, put you in different experiences that are going to prepare you for that love. Because the
Mhm.
worst thing is when something arrives and you're not ready to receive it. Like, that is the worst thing. It's like you put in all the work to manifest this partner and you're not even ready to receive love because you don't think you're worthy of receiving love. So,
Mhm.
being open to anything, being open to the lessons, being open to receiving those lessons from every and anybody, because I really believe like everybody is a teacher, everything is a teacher. So it's important to just stay open and yeah, don't manipulate the manifestations.
That I'm so happy that you said the word attachment because that's something that I'm working on right now a lot.
Yes.
I mean, I'm someone who has very much attached myself to people, places, things often in life. And that's what I'm really working on releasing is releasing attachments and embracing this idea of equanimity where I'll be fine regardless of what the outcome is, detaching myself from the outcome. And I was talking about that with a friend and she said, I used to think of it as detachment,
Mm,
but now I think about it as healthy attachment
yeah.
because she's like, there's no way that we can fully detach from everything, but can you make that attachment healthy for yourself so that you're not sabotaging yourself, your manifestation, or even the person or the thing that you're trying to attract?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and when I think about attachment, I just think about this idea of like relationships and being mindful of like, is this really a connection or is it an unhealthy attachment? Because a lot of the times we think that someone is like meant for us, or maybe this is meant for us, but maybe we are just like so obsessive with this one thing that we're not really seeing like this is an unhealthy attachment that we have created with this thing. Because once that thing has been removed, like you were saying about equanimity, it's like, are we still able to be fully rooted in ourselves? Are we still able to be ourselves when we don't have this person or we don't have this thing? So when I know that I'm coming from a state of like, okay, yeah, I'm connecting with this thing versus it just being like an attachment where I need this thing, when I'm able to still be myself with or without whatever it is that I'm calling in, or whatever it is that I'm with at that moment.
I just pulled up a tweet that Ramneek, our mutual friend, had sent to me this morning.
Yeah.
And I read it first thing in the morning. I mean, not first thing in the morning. I don't check my phone first thing in the morning anymore,
Yeah.
but a little while after. And I'm going to read it out to you because I was like laying in bed, like, oh my God. Um, it goes, I've cried over people who were never supposed to be in my life. I was mourning my expectations and the lack of discernment. I had to work on my attachment style and realize that I stayed places for far too long because I was too unaware or scared to move forward.
Mm,
And that ain't the way to be.
yeah. I think I retweeted that.
You might have, and she might have seen it on yours
Yeah,
and then sent it to me.
yeah, it's real. It's a real thing. And I think the best way that we heal, the best way that we learn, the best way that we grow is by being in relationship. Like, it's one thing to be isolated in your home, in your bedroom, surrounded with your crystals, with your oracle cards, and you got the incense going and you're doing your affirmations. But it's like, what does that look like now when you put it to work, when you put it to the test, and you're around certain people and in different environments where it's like, this is where the real test is. Like, let's see your
Mhm.
affirmations in action now, because now you have to continue again with that equanimity. It's like, can you be yourself? Can you do all these things when you're now like out in the open, and in different situations and different circumstances? So yeah, it's important that we're putting our healing to the test, putting our growth to the test by being in relationship. And
Mhm.
relationships have a lot to teach us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to shift gears for a little bit
Hmm.
because you mentioned
Yeah.
manifestation. And so the way that I see manifestation, as a lot of people do around me, is like as if we're planting seeds, right?
Yeah.
Intentions. And so usually what happens for me is I know what I want. I just don't have a lot of clarity around it.
Mm.
So, how can we start to practice clarity around the seeds that we are planting so that we aren't standing in our own way, and that we're not blocking the lessons or the blessings and the teachings?
I would say what comes up for me right now is like, is this what I want? You know, like, is this truly what I am wanting, you know, or is this a seed that maybe my parents have planted in me, or a partner
Hmm.
has planted in me, or even society, like ideals and norms? Like, is this something that I want? And focusing on the feeling of that intention, because it's one thing to know, like, okay, this is what I intend to do. I know. But another thing is like the feeling of it. How does it feel when, if you were to manifest this thing right now, like, does it feel good? Does it feel in alignment with you and your values and your principles and your morals? Like, what would it look like if this was to happen? And is this something that, again, like, does it spark joy? Does it spark inspiration? Or is it just like, okay, now I'm on to the next thing, you know? Like, is there
Hmm.
conditions to your intention where it's like, if this, then that? Like, I can only have this because then that will equal to that. You know what I mean? So I think
Hmm.
for me, being clear on my intentions is like making sure I'm clear on like the source, clear on the origins, clear on the root, and really focusing in on the feeling, because again, like, there's so much logic sometimes that we apply to these things when the feeling is just as important, you know, like, because your
Hmm.
body, again, your body has a story of its own to share. And at times, you know, especially I found this when I was setting goals with myself. Like, I would set a goal and it was like, now that I've gotten the goal, it doesn't even feel good, you know, like, this is not
Hmm.
what I was wanting. So being able just
Yeah.
to tap into the wisdom of the body and, you know, checking in, like, all right, this feels beautiful, this feels aligned, this feels right. And yeah, working from there.
Hmm. I mean, there's also the element for me usually is like, again, it goes back to the idea of detachment and
Mm,
equanimity is like, I'm writing this intention down, but do I trust the universe in the way that this is going to come true for me or not come true
yeah.
for me? And will I still be okay if I don't get it, or if I don't get it right away, or if it happens in a way that I never imagined
Mm-hmm.
it? That's usually huge for me as well. And the way that I also have been starting to do it is when I'm writing down the seeds that, or like I'm planting seeds, I'm writing down the
Mm-hmm.
intentions. There's things that I know I can change and I have
Yeah.
control over. And then there's stuff that I feel like I can't actually do. That I actually need the universe's intervention for. I need the universe to kind of step in and help me
Yeah.
out with that. And then even being clear about that this is something that I would like to happen or come true, but I feel like I really need support or I need help. And I'm going to trust the universe on all of it, but especially on these things, because I feel like I don't necessarily have the capacity or the strength or even the means to have this come true. But I'm just gonna plant it. I'm just gonna let it be, and then I'll water it, and I'll give it sunlight and all this, as I'm meant to. But there might be some things that are beyond my control. I guess most things are beyond our control. But what can I control and what can I not
Mm-hmm.
control?
Yeah. And you can really just control yourself, you know? That's the
Yeah.
only thing that we are in control of, is just ourselves and our
Hmm.
perceptions and our expectations. All of those things are what we are in control of.
Yeah. So, something I love asking the universe is, how can I
Mm.
create space for all that I want to attract into my life? And normally, it's not the creating the space that's as daunting, but it's something that you said earlier. It's finding yourself deserving enough,
Mm-hmm.
worthy enough. So it's not usually creating the space that's daunting. It's actually often finding myself deserving enough of all that I want to
Mm-hmm.
receive as is. So for someone like that, I mean, you don't have to have the answers, you don't need to know, but if I was to ask Dora, how can I start to work towards a place where I do feel deserving of all that I want to receive?
I think it's helpful. All, I don't know, just working in contrast. So it's like, well, why don't you feel deserving? You know, where did that come from? Where are the roots of that? When did you first experience feeling that way? Who made you feel that way? What's standing in your way? Like, I think sometimes it's hard for us to know what it is we do want, but it can be brought to light by focusing on what it is that we don't want. So working in contrast, and questioning, like Akeem will always tell me to ask why until I run out of why. So it's like, well, if I don't feel deserving, then why? Okay, then you come up with an answer. Then it's like, well, why that? And keep on working until it's like, all right, I'm at a place where it's like, I know, I know now, So work in contrast. And that's something that has come up for me over the years. It's like, well, why not? Why am I not deserving? Why don't I feel like I'm enough? Why don't I feel beautiful? Why don't I feel these things? Okay, it's coming from the sixth grade when so and so told me that they didn't like me because, maybe my hair looked funny or my nose looked funny, or, oh, all right. So working from that and healing that space, taking time with yourself, because again, it's like these things take time, and I find with social
Mm-hmm.
media, like, just even seeing like a story is like 15 seconds or 30 seconds, or those short little glimpses into people's lives where we also kind of have that kind of view in our own lives where things are supposed to happen that fast, and it's like, no, man, like some things take years, some things take
Mm-hmm.
months. Like, when we're working with divine timing, it's like there's no expiration date. Things could happen. Maybe you plant a seed today and it doesn't show up for another 5 years, and you have to be okay with that because maybe you're just not ready for that thing yet. So, yeah, working
Mm-hmm.
in contrast, having patience, and yeah, operating on divine timing.
I love that you say that it doesn't happen right away and sometimes it takes years and months, because you actually just shared something on your social media, which is, a post. It was for anyone forging a new
Mm,
path for themselves. You posted like a Facebook post that you posted 4 years
yeah,
ago about all the changes that you were going to start
yeah,
to make, or how you were going to release your own self-sabotaging behaviors, actions, and thoughts. And I think even, I mean, I've known you since I think 2018 now. I've known you. So it's been,
three
what's the math
years
on that?
yeah.
3 years now. And so even I was thinking this morning that, the Dora that I knew 3 years ago is a different Dora than
Mm-hmm.
what I know now. And I think you're so right that so many people that I talk to who are really open to these kinds of conversations, or maybe a little bit scared, or maybe, haven't really necessarily woken up to the powers of the
Yeah.
universe yet. They're a little bit afraid because they want to see the results right away, or they don't believe that, things can happen for them gradually over time, because we're so often taught that we need to see results very
Yeah.
quickly for things. I mean, I don't even like using the word result because, it's something that you kind of come into, but I loved seeing that post because, I often think that people catch us or see us for what we're at right now, but we don't necessarily get to show the entire
Yeah.
journey. Or, and so for you, I'm in awe of your journey. And I wonder, like, I know you conceptualized it beautifully
Yeah.
in this post, but what has that journey been
Hard as
like for
hell,
you?
Harpo. It's been hard as hard as hell. People
I
are
don't
always
doubt it,
like,
sis.
wow, like, oh my God, you're doing all of this. And I'm like, if I was really to put my life on display, and because I'm a really private person, so like, you know, I do show little bits and pieces, but I really don't show people and tell people like the full iceberg. Like people just get the tip of the
Yeah.
iceberg, and it's been hard
Hmm.
because I'm going against like everything that I've ever known, everything that I've ever believed. I'm going against like how my parents raised me, how their parents raised me. Like I'm going against like years of just like programming and conditioning and all these different things, and it shows up every single day, and so
Hmm.
it's hard, but I'm also very grateful, like I say it's hard, but it's like I get excited when something comes up for me or something like triggers me and activates me. I'm like, ooh, where is that coming from? Like, is this 8-year-old Dora? Like, I'm excited about it because I know that it's like this is the next level, right? Like this is like a video game. Like, okay, I need to deal with this so I can get to the next level. All right, like let's go. Like what is it that I need to work on right now in this moment? So yeah, a lot of people think that this spiritual journey or even just a journey that you're on is like supposed to be all rainbow and lollipops, and it's like, to be honest, some moments are for sure, but there's a balance, right? Just as I said, like universe is always
Hmm.
in a flow of like balance, maintaining equilibrium. So for the light, there's the dark. For the pain, there's the pleasure. And so being able to honor that within myself is what has made it so beautiful, because I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
like I know this is great, but there's also the other aspect to this where it's like I need to put in work. I didn't get to where I am now by just like writing down in my journal, I'm gonna do all these things. It's like I also had to put in the work, right? Faith without
Mhm.
acts is dead. Like you have to be able to humble yourself and not think that you are above doing the nitty gritty, being in the struggle. Like we're all humans at the end of the day. So whatever your journey is, whatever your path is, know that there's work to put in. There's work always to put in.
Always. I always think that, I feel like sometimes I start to do really well and everything's okay. There isn't another level up that's being
Yeah.
called to me. And then I think, okay, I don't need to do my routine, right? I don't need to meditate. I don't need to sit with myself. I don't need to
Yeah.
have solitude. And then all of a sudden the universe is like, actually, no, honey, the simplicity is where it's at. That's the work. I need you to sit down for 10
Yeah.
minutes every day. That is the work. And, I love what you said about
Yeah.
the iceberg, because I remember when I walked into Sage and I saw a stress release table with your face
Yeah.
on it. I dead ass cried because I was like, I mean, I was proud, yes, but it wasn't that. It was, oh my God, it's taken her so much
Yeah.
to get here. And there's so much we don't know. And we're all going to come in here. We're going to see Dora's face on the table at Sage. We're going to be like, oh my God, we love Dora. She's so cool. But it's that, like, I was really, like, I honored and I sent love to that journey, because I know I'm the kind of person that loves journeys, and I love the stories more than I
Yeah.
love the moments. And for me too, I always just want everyone to just acknowledge and see the journey behind the scenes. Just lift up the curtains and applaud that. Don't applaud the
Yeah.
act that I'm showing you. And so I loved that moment so much, because I was just like, this is beautiful. This is everything and more. There's so much more that's to come. We can't just
Yeah,
stop right
that
here.
was that photo shoot. I was like at the height of my breakup, and so like probably 20 minutes before that picture, I
Mhm.
was just crying in an Uber on my way to the shoot, just like in tears, like a wreck. And then I had to like sit down and meditate and have people take photos of me and like do different hand poses with different products. And I was just like, oh my God, like what is going on? But yeah, it
Mm.
was interesting just to see that my face afterwards was everywhere on display, even though I was just like crumbling, like bursting at the seams. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful journey to be on.
And I think that what that shows me is that,
Yeah.
it doesn't end. Like, just because you start on this path doesn't mean like shitty
No.
things stop happening, or, you stop crumbling, or the world stops falling apart. It's all part of the process. Like, it's not like we do
Yeah.
something that it ends, it's just then the next
Yeah.
chapter opens up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Dora, this was so lovely.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for speaking with me. And thank you for all the value that you've added into my life. I feel like I cannot ever
Oh,
say it enough. I've said it so many times in so many spaces, but so much of my healing has come from all the beautiful
mm,
Black women in my life. And I don't take that lightly. And I have so much love for you. And I don't think I'll ever be able to say it to you. And I don't want to
yeah.
overwhelm
Thank
you,
you.
but, there's pockets of you, like, in my daily routine. You are in my, in my aura at
Wow.
all times. And so I think that probably holds true for a lot of other people and a lot of other women. And I'm just so happy that you're part of the Brown Girl Guild community, and what we're fostering. And I think the reason that, even you're where I'm speaking with you in the first month is because so much of what I'm sharing outwards to, some of the other
Mm,
sisters in this community, so much of what they're going to be, seeing through me, and as I'm healing through myself, is what
wow.
I've learned from you. And so there's so much of you in all
Wow,
of that.
thank you. I receive all those words, all those affirmations, Harpo. That's beautiful. It's just, my job is always like, all right, if I can inspire one person, I'm good. Like, great. I'm set. Like,
Hmm.
so to hear that, in real time, and to see everything that you have created is powerful. Like, these conversations are so needed, and I know the power of storytelling, and being able to see yourself in someone else is so powerful. So hats off
Mhm.
to you for creating this space, for creating these conversations and these connections, and just the willingness to be vulnerable with your audience and your community. Like, it's a beautiful thing to create, it's a beautiful thing to be a part of. So keep it going, girl. Keep it
Mhm.
going.
Thank you. I'm going to take a page out of your book and
Yeah.
say, I received that. So, everyone that's listening, you hear that? I complimented Dora. She said, I received that. She complimented me, and I said, I received that.
Yes.
So, that might sound a little bizarre and cheesy to some of you to say, I received that when you're receiving a compliment. But think about what we normally do and how we normally act when we are receiving a compliment. We often shut down and we don't want to accept it. We say, oh, yeah, no, it's okay. Like, okay. I know for me, my automatic reaction is always to give a compliment back as opposed to just marinating in the compliment that I've received. And that's the thing. It does feel bizarre. It does feel really cheesy. It does feel very weird and awkward and kind of like, I don't really know what to do with this when we are trying to receive all that we are very worthy of receiving. And so I want to challenge all of us to continue to practice being in this open state of receiving. But when we are receiving from other people, to just gauge your body. That's what I do. I gauge my body and I say, am I receiving this? Am I resisting this? And like Dora said, if I'm resisting it, why? Why am I resisting it? Thank you so much for listening. Please share with me and tell me what your journey of switching to this receival mode has been like or is turning into. As always, gratitude, glory, and grace to every single one of you. Brown Girl Guilt drops every Sunday. If you haven't already, I would love for you to subscribe on Apple and Spotify. It really means a lot when you actually subscribe and like and not just listen and go away. Peace and love, friends. That's what I've learned from Dora, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.